In this video, I'm going to talk about the route across Vietnam, Ho Chi Minh City in the south, all the way across the country to Hanoi City in the north. I'll also talk a bit about the Mekong Delta and a bit about the northeast, Hoi An, northwest. I have a video on this topic from 2023, the best recommended route across Vietnam. This is now 2025, I think. There are some small updates, not massive, so I'll gloss over this relatively quickly. It is worth watching this video and the other video. Quick thing, we are a company that has multiple offices. At the time of this video, we have an office in Ho Chi Minh, Dalat, Da Nang, and Hanoi, and we also transport trucks a lot between Hoi An, so we can do that as well. The idea is a simple pickup and drop off service where you start in one city and stop in another city. We can also send your bags between cities and that kind of thing. This is what we do. Ho Chi Minh to Hanoi is roughly 2,500 kilometers. But how long does that actually take if doing the good roads? Basically, between Ho Chi Minh and Da Nang is roughly 4 to 7 days. Da Nang being the city in the middle of the country. It's a big city too. So Ho Chi Minh here to Da Nang, 4 to 7 days. And then between Hanoi and Da Nang, again, 4 to 7 days. So basically, Ho Chi Minh down here to Hanoi up here, if doing the good roads, takes 10 days of driving, if driving all day, every day. So with that knowledge, you can now decode your holiday. If you have 11 days holiday, that's 10 days of driving with 1 rest day. If you have 12 days, that is 10 days of driving with 2 rest days. You get the idea. So generally speaking, the minimum amount of time between Ho Chi Minh and Hanoi for our customers is 15 days. This is the normal side of rushed. Most people will take 20 to 25 days to get across the country while seeing tourist activities at a reasonably relaxed pace. The north above Hanoi, very simple. Basically speaking, the northeast, 1 week. Hoi An, 1 week. The northwest, 1 week. So 3 weeks of driving in total in the north of Vietnam. However, if you're combining the sections together, that 1 week I'm talking about is 1 day from Hanoi to, for example, Hoi An, and 1 day Hoi An back to Hanoi. So if you're combining the sections into each other, you're saving that 2 days of driving between the big city and the north of Vietnam. All right, so let's get started. The basic recommended route that we do, and keep in mind, we are a motorbike rental company. We are looking for the best roads. These are roads with good traction, good meandering sort of corners, nice scenery, maybe not so many trucks and cars. We don't really care about tourist activity. So this is about the roads. Vietnam is famous for its coastline, but it should be famous for its mountains. And you'll see in a minute that our route does not contain that much coastline. Most of it is in the mountains. There is no point coming to Vietnam and driving all the way up the coast. The reason is it's actually a major highway, extremely dangerous and terrible driving, with there being a row of buildings, houses and so on between you and that coast you want to see. So keep that in mind when listening to this. All right, Ho Chi Minh to a place called Cat Tien National Park. That is our day number 1. The reason for that is it's a very simple, easy way out of the city, and Cat Tien National Park is quite a nice first night stop for the average tourist. Cat Tien to Dalat, very nice, beautiful mountain ride there. And then basically we're trying to get over to Nha Trang. Now there is a mountain pass here, but it's a nice mountain pass, but we do many, many mountains later. This is our chance to do the best coast in Vietnam. So what we're actually going to do is come from Dalat down and round a place called Phan Rang and up to Nha Trang along the coastline there. Phan Rang to Nha Trang is the best coast in the country. If you want to do a bit more coast there, you can come down to Mui Ne, through Phan Rang, up to Nha Trang that way. Basically along the coast, there is accommodation of all styles and budgets. We're using Nha Trang as a name because it's a major city, but the reality is you can stop anywhere on this coastline and there will be accommodation. So you don't have to go to the big city. Okay, so from there, we go Nha Trang up to Quy Nhon. So we're actually continuing along the coast. Quy Nhon is a relatively large sort of local city, I guess you'd call it, very famous for seafood and things like that. It has some tourist activities that are sort of off the tourist trails. Our customers tend to like that place. And then from Quy Nhon, we're coming inland up to a place called Mang Den around here. This map is old, so it's not on here. The road is in the right place on this map, but the location is not. It's called Mang Den. And Mang Den is an up and coming tourist area. Nice, beautiful place. But the ride to get there between Quy Nhon and Mang Den is truly awesome. If you're a more hardcore rider, you can come straight inside Nha Trang, go up the middle to Mang Den and skip out the coastline there. But the issue with that is there's not so much accommodation around here. So some tourists can get themselves in a mess or end up in a fairly rundown hotel. So that's your more extreme version. Now along this side here is a major highway connecting a place called Buôn Ma Thuột, big city, and Pleiku, big city. You can always pop over to this side and get accommodation, but where so many tourists go wrong is they end up driving up this highway between Pleiku and Buôn Ma Thuột. It's super busy these days and rammed with police. The road we're recommending is up the middle of the country, not this side and not this side. In fact, this coastline here between Quy Nhon and Hoi An is so dangerous these days that we've removed it from our map entirely. On this map, it's still here, dotted, but we've taken it off our main recommended route now. Do not do this coastline. Okay, from there, we're now in Hoi An, picturesque place. Many people love it. You can do the lanterns, make your clothes, all that kind of stuff there. Now, our new recommended route, which has changed a bit, is now Hoi An over to Hue, over the Hoi An Pass. My advice in previous years is that I believe the Hoi An Pass is overrated. I stand by that. And we used to send everyone inland direct to the Ho Chi Minh Road. However, our tour guides are now saying the Ho Chi Minh Road, at least in this section, is now relatively busy. So they're preferring to send people back over the Hoi An Pass like in the good old days before I was around. In Hue, it's a nice tourist area with the citadel and things like that. And then we continue up past Hue, not on this map, to a place called, forgotten it, what's the DMZ called? Vinh Moc Tunnels. So you can do Hue, Vinh Moc Tunnels, and then inside to Khe Sanh all in one day, passing through the old DMZ that actually split the north and the south. So a tourist finds that kind of thing very exciting. I still think for the hardcore rider though, going straight inland to the Ho Chi Minh Road and up to Khe Sanh is probably the better driving. But the combination of driving and tourist activities, it's Hue up a little bit and then into Khe Sanh. Then from Khe Sanh to Phong Nha, this is the Ho Chi Minh Road. This is probably the best road in the entire country for your average tourist. It is truly awesome. It looks small on this map, look at that, tiny, but in real life it's a big drive. And most people run out of time on this day and they bail out onto that dangerous coastline, which is a bit of a shame. The other thing about this is it gets better and better as every hour goes by. So if you're running out of sunlight, you're actually missing the best part of the road. That's a bit of a shame. So you want to come into Phong Nha with all of its caves around sunset. That's when you get that real golden hour into the sort of limestone mountains they have there with the lime-looking rivers. It's truly awesome place, Phong Nha. Phong Nha, you do some caves. My recommendation is to book a proper cave tour with a company like Oxalis, 2 days or something like that, but in general, there's so much to do there. Now, from Phong Nha to Hanoi is a bit of a problem area. There's no decent recommended route. So in some ways, just whacking out Google Maps and saying Phong Nha to Hanoi direct is not a bad choice. However, what we do is we go Phong Nha to a place called Vinh, somewhere out here. And actually, we have a bit of a debate in the company at the moment. Some of our tour guides recommend Vinh, which is a kind of city, and some will recommend Kua Lo, which is on the coast. Either way, because there is nothing amazing in this area, the company itself has an internal dispute about where to go and what to do. So that's this area here, and then from the Vinh area, you're going direct up to Mai Chau or Phu Long. That's where I would recommend going. You're going around all of the traffic. And these are both stunning places with nice rice paddies kind of off the tourist trail. Or if you want to do the tourist thing, you go straight into Ninh Binh. But into Ninh Binh and Ninh Binh to Hanoi is very busy. If you want to go to Ninh Bình, then stay in Ninh Bình. Basically, there's a lot to do there. You've got to spend at least one day there to justify hacking your way through that traffic. If you're not spending time in Ninh Bình, go around all the traffic to Mai Chau and Phu Long. So there are some updates since our old map there. The primary bits really being now we tend to recommend people go in from Quy Nhon instead of in from Nha Trang. And we're now recommending the Hoi An Pass instead of the Ho Chi Minh Road. And we're recommending Vin-Cua Lo instead of, Hoi An Pass and Vin Moc Tunnels and DMZ across Hue. And we're recommending Cua Lo or Vin instead of just having no recommendation at all. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about the very north. We'll kick this show off with Hoi An because that's where every tourist wants to go these days. And what I'll say about Hoi An is the roads are in good condition these days and it is super, super developed. Post-COVID, it just exploded. And you now have thousands and thousands of tourists on cheap budget motorbike tours going around in groups. So you can be sitting in a nice coffee shop by yourself and suddenly an army of backpackers come by on a 20-man scooter tour. This is the kind of thing you can be expecting. For some people, no problem, they don't care and it's funny. For other people, they're in this mountain region to sort of escape it all and then they get smashed by a bunch of tourists. So you've got to be aware of that. The other thing about Hoi An is the police. These days, the police will almost guarantee stop you. And I look at it like an entrance fee. They will stop you. Doesn't matter if you've got all the paperwork right. They will find something you've done wrong. And you're going to have to give them roughly 3 million dong. This is about 120 US dollars. Now they give you a ticket and you can use that ticket to get past all the other police in the area. So it's an entrance fee basically. There is no other place in this country where something as ridiculous as that happens. Okay, the guys watching me here have said I was too tough on the Hoi An situation. If you have a valid license and the right version of the IDP, then you will probably still get around without being stopped. However, the police in Hoi An do know about the two different versions of IDPs. If you're not sure about that side of the story, then watch this video where I talk about licenses in Vietnam. All that aside, it's super easy to travel Hoi An because it's so developed now. So you're getting that sort of feel of being the hardcore remote mountain motorbike adventurer without really being the hardcore remote mountain adventurer. So it's a nice balance for a lot of people and very, very beautiful. The recommended route these days basically is going to be Hanoi to Ba Be Lake, Ba Be Lake to a place called Mio Vac, Mio Vac to Hoi An, Hoi An to Vu Linh, and Vu Linh back to Hanoi. Another thing about the north though is there is no set route. When I was talking between Ho Chi Minh and Hanoi, I can give you a destination each day. But in the north, it depends on the weather and the skill of your driving, because there's vastly different kilometer counts that people will pull off depending on the conditions and their skill level. The other thing about the north is there are small towns and villages everywhere, all with homestays. So because of that, you just stop when you're tired and you just get a homestay. There is no set tourist destination. So whatever I recommend here, you will not keep to it. You'll do your own thing. With that, you have to realize that there is nowhere in the north region, really, that is more than a one-day drive from Hanoi. And this is why not planning the north is a good idea. You just drive an area at your pace, you have fun, do what you want to do, and then when you run out of time, you do your one-day drive back to Hanoi. You do not need to see every waterfall. You do not need to drive every road. A mountain is a mountain, a waterfall is a waterfall. Do not overplan the north of Vietnam, and don't worry if you haven't seen it all. And that's the thing, everyone wants recommended routes around the north. It doesn't exist, it's impossible. Having said that, let's give you a recommended route around the Northwest, which is where we like to go as a company for our guided tours, and I think is probably the best area of Vietnam right now. So our staff in particular in Hanoi will persuade you or attempt to persuade you away from Hoi An over to the Northwest. So a quick thing about the Northwest is it's definitely more hardcore driving. The roads are in not great condition. There's a lot of clay, which makes it really slippery. There's no tourist infrastructure and very little English. So in reality, this puts it sort of on just a little bit outside of the comfort zone of a lot of tourists. But as long as you're a little bit sort of adventurous, then it's a lot of fun. And if you want those local experiences of slapping people's hands as you drive by, that kind of thing, the Northwest is where all of that happens. So where do you go? You go Hanoi to Mai Chau or Pulong again. And then Pulong is a huge ferry. You go up to a place called, Bac Yen. And then it's around here, Bac Yen, you're going to go do the dinosaur backbone in Ta Sur. And then you're going to continue through to a town called Tram Tao. This is all happening in a little circle around here. Tram Tao has natural hot springs. Take a nice hot swim. Really amazing little village, which is unfortunately rather relatively quickly exploding on the tourist market, both Vietnamese and foreigner tourism. Me making a video and promoting it like that is not helping the situation. Tram Tao is a golden gem right now. Anyway, Tram Tao, you then head over to Vu Linh, which is roughly near this Twin Quang thing. Vu Linh, back to Hanoi. That's your little Northwest loop. You're not really going to have problems with the police. Slightly hardcore riding, but seriously beautiful. And then the Northeast. So this is probably the least beautiful area of the North. It hasn't got the jaw-dropping beauty of the other areas, but still really great to drive and easy to drive as well. So there you're going to be going from Hanoi out to that cave. What's the cave called? Can you remember? Okay, I'm going to B-roll it over because I've forgotten what it's called. I'm based in the south. There's a cave out here. Then you're going to go over to Khao Bang and you're going to do the Ban Yok waterfall out here on the northeast border with China. One of the most beautiful things I've ever seen in my lifetime. And then you're going to make that a circle. So Khao Bang, see Ban Yok, and you finish up in Khao Bang again. Khao Bang to Ba Be Lake here. Another natural beauty. And then Ba Be Lake back to Hanoi. So it's a nice little loop. So usually the Northeast is used to combine Hoi An and the Northeast. So you start with the Northeast, you go anti-clockwise. So Northeast to Hoi An and then back to Hanoi. That's the usual use case for that. Okay, so the Mekong Delta, we haven't talked about that at all. Why? Because it's rubbish for driving. What does that mean? Well, Mekong Delta is actually great for culture and for food and for that kind of thing. But in terms of motorbiking, it's very hot, flat, and busy. It's not really somewhere where you're driving around to experience mountain roads and that kind of thing. So if you're doing a guided tour, it's excellent. A motorbike tour guide can take you around all of the rivers, and it's hard to navigate properly. But by yourself, there's nothing you can really do on a motorbike that makes it special. And that's the same for Phu Quoc Island. You're better off really just flying it from Saigon. I wouldn't bother driving all the way down there and all the way back. So the Mekong Delta is off our recommended route. And that's similar-ish to Vung Tau and the coastline Vung Tau through to Mui Ne. Like, it's not terrible, but it's just not amazing. There is a lot of traffic to get from Ho Chi Minh down to Vung Tau as well. It's just not the nicest, most pleasant way to start your journey. That's why we recommend Ho Chi Minh to Cat Tien as your first day of driving. Okay, so that's this video. Thank you very much for watching. Any questions from you guys? No? Perfect. Done.